Alright, let's get this started. Let's see, that's off, that's off, that's off, that's on. Breakfast is over there. Ignoring that. Stream appears to be live. Let's get going. Hello, Shadowcat back! It's time for a brand new thing. We're starting something new today. Last time we finished up Magic the Gathering, and that was good. I feel like we left it off in a good place. I gave people the option. Okay, I gave people an option if we wanted to do more races for the Pathfinder unit, or the Magic the Gathering universe. Because there were a few things that could be in there. We had stats for so many different races. But there were still a couple that were interesting, like the completed Phyrexians. I'm not exactly sure what that would have meant, but either way, we're not doing it. So, instead, we're going to tie everything off with a bow on that one. I have a little bit of cleanup to do to make it pretty, make it, presentable. Not publishable, of course. Not while, Hasbro exists, but I'll make it pretty at least. And so we're starting something new today. And today we are doing Pokemon. I say today, but this is probably going to be our new thing for the next few months. Although I could be wrong about that. See, here's the thing. We are going from one card game to another card game. Kinda, sorta, little bit. We're not exactly going to be adapting the card game to Pathfinder and Starfinder. We're going to be using more the actual video games for this one. Just because the video games give us a lot more to work with. The video games give us a lot more numbers. But yes, we're going to be adopting, adapting. Both are kind of true. We're going to be doing Pokemon for both of these. And the reason I'm going to say for both of these is that as I've been doing these, certain modules have fallen kind of into their own systems. The Wheel of Time, very obviously a Pathfinder system. Magic the Gathering, same thing. Magic the Gathering does have things like guns and cannons and even airships and things like that. But for the most part, Magic the Gathering was a fantasy setting. Star Trek Warhammer 40,000, very much a Starfinder setting because it was set in the future. With Pokemon, though, Pokemon is actually kind of set in modern times. If you've ever seen the Pokemon cartoon, or, any of the related stuff around it, Pokemon takes place in an era where we have modern houses, we have cars, we have cities, we have electricity, we have all of these things. So it's neither fantasy nor sci-fi, and as such, we're going to build a module that should slot really easily into both of them. That's the idea. And so before we get into it today, I'm going to first check the chat. I see I have people in the chat. Hello, Blizzard Star. Good to see you there. JP is in as well. Hello, JP. Good to see you too. I hope both of you are excited about what we're doing today. And also, hope everyone's enjoying the new live background too. That's a lot of work. I'm happy with it though. It's not perfect. I know where the flaws are. If you can find the flaws, good for you. Keep it to yourself. But anyway, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to stop looking at the pretty wallpaper, and we're actually have to bring in the stuff that we're going to need. So, we're going to need a brand new spreadsheet. And we're going to need to have some kind of reference material to work from, and in this case, we actually have a really good one. See, the Magic the Gathering wiki was pretty good. However, we're going to be using Bulbapedia this time. And Bulbapedia is a wiki that has been around for a very long time. It has a lot of really good information on it. It's pretty much the go-to reference material for Pokemon. So, that's going to be good. Now if only I could make that little gap in the middle disappear. No matter what I do, it never seems to go away. I've tried. Anyway, though, let's sit down and think about exactly what we have to do to make this work. Okay, today's going to be a little bit of brainstorming. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to figure out a way to insert Pokemon into a tabletop game. So we need to take Pokemon, and that's awfully tiny. Let's make that bigger. Maybe a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so we are going to be taking Pokemon from the video game to tabletop. Now, that is going to include, we are going to need stat conversion. We're going to need trait conversion. And what else are we going to need for that? Stats, traits. We're going to need to get the levels done. However, I've already kind of got the levels done. See, I did a little bit of work before the stream on this one because I knew that I was going to need to have a new experience chart for this, and I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to do it. Because we're dealing with a lot of numbers here, a lot of big numbers, and I needed to be able to run multiple iterations of it to figure out what I liked best. It was terrifically boring, and it gave me a headache, but I did get something. We'll get into that for a minute. So we're going to need to have stat conversions and trait conversions because primarily, that's your Pokemon. Whatever it is, if it's a Bulbasaur, a Charmander, or a Squirtle. If you strip away the cute critter in front of it, it's essentially just an element, and numbers. And so that's what we had to work on converting. Everything else is just flavor. So we need stats, we need traits. What else are we going to need for this? I'm going to go ahead and put this on here anyway. We're going to need to have the XP progression, even though I have that done. It still goes under the Pokemon conversion. After that, we're going to need to have a... what's the word I want here? We're going to need to have a map system. I'll phrase it that way. We will need to have a map system, which is going to involve types by biome. And once we've done types by biome, everything else should sort itself out. I mean, after all, if you go to a mountain, you're probably not likely to find a Magikarp. It's just not going to happen. The same thing if you're going into a cave, you're probably not going to find a whole lot of Pidgeys. And yes, if all of my references here are of Gen 1, that's because it's like, I've only played like one Pokemon game, really. Okay, technically I've played 2. I don't count one of them because I wasn't there when the game first came out. I have played Shining Pearl and I played Pokemon Violet. And both those playthroughs are on my channel if you're interested. I don't count myself as being one of the people that started with Pearl, though, because I didn't play Diamond Pearl. I played Shining Pearl. It's Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. They were both the remakes. And the remakes were not the same as the originals. They were updated, and more than just graphics. They were updated in graphics, yes. They were also upgraded in mechanics, which made the game easier. So I don't take credit for that one. I'm still proud of what I did, but I did it. Blizzard Star says, what about attacks? Yes, we are going to need to have an attack system. That's going to go partially into the XP progression system, but we're going to need a conversion system for attacks. So we're going to go through move sets. Now, the move sets should not be that difficult, and the reason is this. I have absolutely zero intention of going through every single move in the game and making and figuring out exactly how they work, okay? I am not doing it. There has got to be an easier way to do it. And just, you know, as such, I'm just going to type in here move, and here we go. Yeah, a move, also known as an attack, is an attack technique or just technique. How many attacks are there? I wonder. Characteristics of moves, learning and unlearning, changing orders, unique moves, unusable moves. I have no idea. Wait, here we go. Trivia. After a move is used, if that Pokemon levels up before its in-battle turn and replaces the move currently awaiting execution of a new move. That's not interesting. In some instances, no. Here we go. Generation 1 introduced 165 moves. Gen 2 introduced 86. Gen 3 introduced 103. Gen 4, which I think was Diamond Pearl? I think Gen 4 was Diamond Pearl. Introduced 113. Gen 5, 92. Gen 6, 62. Gen 7, another 107, including 35 Z moves, which I don't know what those are. We may get into those. Gen 8 introduced 80 more moves, including 18 max moves and 26 G max moves. And Gen 9, which is Scarlet Violet, introduced 69 more moves. Hold on. So they didn't total them for me. I'm going to go through and do the total here. I got my phone here. Got my calculator. Let's go through this. 165 plus 86 plus 103 plus 113 plus 92 plus 62 plus... Do we want to include the Z moves? I'm not sure if I want to include the Z moves. I'm not going to include the special moves. So we're going to skip that 35. Gen 8 introduced 80. Plus, ignoring the max moves and the G max moves, Gen 9 introduced 69. That is a total of 770 moves in Pokemon. I'm assuming that is no duplicates. So no, we are not going through all of those. However, fortunately for us, it's actually pretty easy, because the moves themselves all have a power rating to them. And I can show this by just picking a Pokemon at random. So, Pokedex. Yeah, sure, why not? We'll go with the original, red and blue. And we'll go ahead with Pokemon number 1. So there he is. There's Bulbasaur. Everybody loves Bulbasaur. And if you don't like Bulbasaur, you're the problem. Okay? It's not his problem. You're the problem. Bulbasaur is wonderful. And so I want to come down here to moves. Because you can learn moves in one of two ways, either by leveling up or by using items. And while we're here and we're talking about this, one thing that I do want to show off. So I'm going to get into the whole XP progression thing because it needs to be touched on right here. Here's the thing. In Pathfinder and Starfinder, they operate on a 20-level system, okay? You pick your class at the beginning of the game, and as you level up, you can level up 20 times. When you hit level 20, that is your capstone. You are the undisputed master of your class. You really have nothing else to learn here. You are the best there ever was. Okay? So there's really nothing else to do there. Pokemon, however, uses a 100 level system. And unfortunately, and this is one of the things I sat down playing with, even though there is a direct conversion from 20 levels to 100 levels, it's literally just times 5, I can't necessarily do that with the XP. I can't. It doesn't work that way. So, what I did is I actually had to make the Pokemon their own custom XP chain, which actually worked out a lot better than I thought. I simply went through, used the same system that they use for Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, Starfinder, things like that, and then adjusted the numbers. Because in the normal game, the amount of XP you need to level up is whatever your level happens to be. If you're level 1, times 1,000. So level 1 times 1,000, 1,000. You get 1,000 XP, you level up to level 2. And so you have a pretty linear curve here because at level 2, you need 2,000 more XP. Once you hit 3,000, you level up to level 3. And it keeps going and going and going and going and going until you hit level 20 at 190,000 XP. Well, that's really good. Unfortunately, like I said, if I just multiply everything by 5, 190,000 XP is just shy of 1 million. I think. Yeah, just shy of 1 million. And so that's not going to work because you'll be dead before your Pokemon ever reaches level 100. So instead, I adjusted it. Instead of times 1,000, I went with times 100. Still didn't work because it still was almost 500,000. So instead, I went with times 10. And I think it worked out pretty well. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger too. There we go. So this is going to be the new XP system for Pokemon. Now, your Pokemon will track their own XP separate from yours. But, and here's the thing, all your Pokemon will gain XP as you do. Naturally, if your Pokemon are there with you, they are absorbing XP, so long as they're, participating, and I assume that they're going to participate. And let's see, Blizzard Star says, yes it was. I assume that's my comment on what generation Diamond Pearl was, so hey, I'm happy about that one. Also, do not count the Z moves, you need special items for Z moves. Fair enough. Glad I didn't then. Okay, anyway, so the way this is going to work is that when you gain XP, your Pokemon will also gain XP, and it will be applied to their thing. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, let me give you an example. So, I currently have a game going. Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to plug. Haha, JP, you didn't remind me. It's your fault. If you're watching this now, if you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon that you get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who's also into either Pathfinder, Starfinder, or Pokemon, share this video with them, because they're probably going to enjoy this ride. If you like what I'm doing here, leave a like on the stream. I like likes. Give me more likes. Makes me happy. You leave a comment down below. If you're going to leave a comment down below, though, then might I suggest just join the Discord. We have a Discord. It's a very nice Discord. We keep it clean. Okay. Gets swept out at least, like, once a week, maybe. Floors get mopped once a month. Sometimes. I don't know. I should probably put in Chore Wheel. Anyway, join the Discord. There's people there, we're friendly people, and if you want to play with us, you have to join the Discord, because that's how we do it. Join the Discord, go to the Behind the Screen channel, let me know what you want to play and what your availability is. As soon as I have a group ready, then we can go ahead and just start the game. Anyway, I bring that up because we currently have a Star Trek game going on right now. And there is still room to get into it. It's not over yet. I can integrate people into it very easily. I'm very good at what I do. So, if you want to play with us, you can do that. But, I bring it up because the last time I gave them XP, everybody got 111 XP. Now, that doesn't sound like much because it's not much. It's really not, and that's because they got XP for traveling. But think about this. If you got 111 XP, well, if you are, if you're playing a character, 111 XP is nothing, okay? It's nothing. So you're going to sit there and you're going to say, well, I got 111 XP, and I still need, oh crap, 473 to level up? Oh no! It's terrible! However, if you're a Pokemon, and you got 111 XP? Oh boy! Let's take a look. 111 XP is going to put you, let's see, XP total, you're going to need 10 for level 2, 30 for level 3, 60 for level 4, 100 for level 5, 150 for level 6. So we didn't get a 150. 111 is going to put you straight from level nothing to level 5. And guess what? If you got the same amount of XP again, the players are still going to be going, I still didn't get enough to level up. I still need another 300 and some XP. Fair complaint. However, now your Pokemon has 222. So, we're passing level 6, we're passing level 7, didn't quite make it to level 8. Your Pokemon is going to level up a whole lot quicker than you do. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, because actually I think this works out beautifully. Pokemon is not one of those games where you're in general going to pick one partner and stick with it forever. No, that's going to be for the Digimon module when we do that one. No, Pokemon wants you to collect and use multiple different Pokemon. You want to have a full collection, that's why you get a Pokédex. So, in that case, having this faster XP progression is going to work out a lot better for you because they're going to level up really quickly in the beginning. Now, when we're talking about getting, 111 XP at a time, that is enough to level up 5 levels in the beginning. However, it's not enough to necessarily get... Or no, wait, hold on. Let's see. Hold on. It's enough for 5 levels at first. It's enough for 2 levels next. And after that, 100... If I just go by 100 XP each, it's going to get you a level here. And then 80 to 360 will get you a level here. In fact, I mean, pretty much everything up here, up to level 10, it's going to get you a level every time you get XP, which is great. After that, you're going to need a little bit more. 111 would still get you another level here. And then it's going to slow down. And it's going to slow down naturally over time. But it's still going to be, you know, quite a fair amount. And when we look at Pokemon, if I come back up here to the top, Bulbasaur here evolves into Ivysaur at level 16, and then evolves into Venusaur at level 32. Which means that if we followed how much XP that my players got after their last leg, your Bulbasaur will stay a Bulbasaur. Let's see, level 16 is at 1200? So after 12 sessions, more or less, or at least 12 travel legs, and that's just counting travel. That's not counting actual like big plot events. Because the way that I work this is I have my own custom XP system. There is a large chunk of XP for plot points. There is a smaller chunk for side quests, and then there is a we'll just call it a sliver chunk for just basic travel. Currently, and I may be giving away too much here, but currently that big plot chunk is 750 XP. And that's the base XP, before any bonuses or modifiers. So let's say that you got this Pokemon and you took it through a major plot point, okay? You had to go stop Team Rocket from taking over... I don't know, what does Team Rocket take over, a lemonade stand? I'm not sure. Anyway, you stopped Team Rocket from taking over a lemonade stand. 750 XP. Guess what? Boom! That's going to put you, not to level 13, but it's going to put you straight from 0 to 12. That's before bonuses. They might actually put you up to level 13. If you got to do 2 plot points in a row, 750 times 2 is 1500, which would put you up to level 17. And right there, level 17, Bulbasaur just evolved. And so, like, as soon as that happens, Bulbasaur is going to evolve, unless you stop it for some reason. I don't know why you would, but hey, it's your Pokemon, you do what you want. So just like that, you've got your first evolution. And it's great. You're going to feel accomplished. It's going to be a happy time for everybody. Now, fortunately for me, when it comes to doing things like the moves and everything, since we're able to use this for our XP progression and our leveling, when we come down to move sets, these are all done by level 2. So for example, Bulbasaur here, level 1, it gets Tackle and Growl, just automatically. At level 3, it gets Vine Whip. Now, what is Vine Whip going to be? I don't know yet, we haven't done it. We're going to have some very interesting rules because we're going to have to use things like Reach, because Vine Whip is going to be able to do that. We're going to have to go through a lot of things here. Point is, though, that let's say you got that 111 XP, and it jacked you right up to level 6. Alright, fine. So you started off with a level 1 Bulbasaur, and as soon as you got XP, bam, learned Vine Whip, and learned Growth. Great! It's already built in for us. There is very little work that we have to do there. We just have to go through and identify what do the moves actually do. So, that's going to be good there. As far as movesets go, that's how we're going to learn them. We're just going to have to go through and actually figure out how they work. As far as what we have to do for the movesets, we're going to need to establish the damage/power, and we're going to need to establish properties. Now, like I said, I do not want to go through all of these. But there may be some standouts that we have to go through. Like, for example, when I mentioned Vine Whip. Vine Whip is where Bulbasaur literally grows vines and whips something. If that's the case, I've seen it in the cartoons where Bulbasaur can literally reach out and just grab somebody. Well, how far can he reach? We're not necessarily going to get a proper number on that, because in the games, it's just assumed that they can reach if they're using the move, and so, yeah. Essentially what's happening here is that Bite and Vine Whip in the games have the same range, because Pokemon doesn't keep track of range. So, we're going to have to figure that out. Again, without going through 770 moves. That's going to be the complicated part. How do we simplify it as much as possible? Okay, so, movesets. We need damage and power, we need properties. The ones that are not, attack moves, the ones that are just utility moves, should be pretty easy, I think. Alright, so there's movesets. We're also going to need to have a catching system. And so that is going to require us to make an entire array of Pokeballs. And we're going to need to have a chance system, because that is one of the hallmarks of Pokemon. Not only do you have to fight them, not only do you have to throw the ball, but there is a chance that it works. And since we are working with a tabletop game and we're rolling dice already, the chance is already built in. We just have to establish what the numbers are. So that should be pretty easy too. And we do not have to make it as complicated as the numbers are for the actual video games, because I have seen those equations, and oof, it's not nice. The equations that they use in these Pokemon games are not nice. They are incredibly complex. So we're going to need to have a capture system. What else are we going to need then? We've got our Pokemon, we have a map system, a move set, or we have to go through the moves, capture system. What else are we going to need? I think that's most of the important things. Now I'm just thinking about the little things. Oh, I know something up here. Not just stats conversions. Let me move this down a little bit. Sizes. We're going to need sizes for all these Pokemon. We're going to need sizes because some of them you can actually ride. Like, Lapras is a riding Pokemon. Lapras only rides on water, but Lapras is a riding Pokemon. And it's large enough for people to sit on it. Usually 2 or 3 people. However, nobody's riding a Magikarp. Okay? Doesn't matter. You're not riding a Magikarp. I believe people can also ride Pokemon like Charizard. I don't think you can in the first game, but I think later on you can ride on Charizard. I think Charizard gets fly eventually. I could be wrong, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. The point is, though, that they come in different sizes, and if they're above a certain size, they should be rideable. The question is just how are we going to assign the sizes? Because using Charizard is a great example, because Charizard is classically misunderstood. I'm going to go back here and bring up Charizard, because Charizard is like one of the examples. It is the original, the OG, the dragon. Everybody who knows Pokemon, even people who don't know Pokemon, know Charizard. He is that identifiable. And he is... where is it? There it is. 5'7" Okay? 1.7 meters, 5'7". Charizard is not tall. Charizard would break even in most Asian societies. And everywhere else in the world, Charizard would be straight up short. So, we're going to need to have some kind of system for how tall are they going to be. Because I'm not sure how we're going to do it. And it might be one of those things where we just simply go out and say, we already have a system for this. We know how big creatures are. And if I could get the Pathfinder wiki to load, I would pull that up. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to get it up all day, and I don't know why. Let's check Starfinder. Starfinder should have this. Also, PC Unicorn's in the chat. Hello, PC Unicorn. Good to see you. Rules, races... getting started, ability scores, alignment, races, classes, skills, skill descriptions, equipment, tactical rules, where it's just like descriptions. And PC Corner says, I'm 5'7". I'm short. I mean, kinda. A little bit. I mean, short by Western standards, I guess. Like I said, Charizard would probably, actually, now that I think about it, was it 5'7" or was it 5'07"? Going back, hold on. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure they were right. 5'7", so, yeah, it's shorter than 6 foot. Makes Charizard tall in, like, Japanese society, but kinda average to short in Western society. And absolutely short if you go to, like, African society. So, yeah, I'm sticking by what I said. Although, apparently, Mega Charizard gets bigger. So, I mean, there's that at least. I don't know, maybe you can ride Mega Charizard. Anyway, though, I was looking for sizes. Character creation steps. Vital statistics, right here, I bet. Basic ranges that let you determine height, weight, and age. But it doesn't actually list them here. And like I said, the other wiki is not working for some reason. And so I can't pull it up. You know, I wonder if I can pull up my other computer. Hold on a second. And the answer to that is a resounding no. So I have to assume that the website is just plain down. Well, that's disappointing. Okay, well, not our problem. The fact is that basically, I believe it is that up to 3 feet is small, because like gnomes, halflings are essentially hobbits. They're up to 3 feet tall. They're small. Up to 6 feet is up to 6 feet is considered medium. Actually, no, that's not up to 6 feet. 6 feet is like the average. Technically speaking, I think up to like 8 feet is considered a medium creature. 8 to like 15 feet is considered a large creature. And we're just talking about tall. So these are all going to be tall creatures. And then, you know, they just keep going up from there. So, okay, fine. We'll agree. Charizard is not short. Charizard is not a small creature. Charizard is still going to be a medium-sized creature. Even so, though, when we look at most riding animals, in order for it to be a riding animal, it needs to be one size category bigger than you. Which means that the only people that are going to be riding on Charizard are either going to be small creatures or children. And given that most of the characters in Pokemon are children, I guess that kind of makes sense. Also, Blizzard is correcting me and says that was Gigantamax Charizard. Even Mega Charizards are still just 5-7. Well, I mean... Okay, yeah, you're right. The name is underneath. So... Okay, well, what is Gigantamax anyway? Let's see. We got pictures here. So, like, there's Charizard, and there's Mega Charizard, and there's other Mega Charizard. Why is there 2 Mega Charizards? I don't know. There's a Gigantamax, though. I can't really bring up a good picture of him because of the way I have my windows arranged. Still, though, I mean... Looks like Charizard? Anyway, so sizes... If every Pokemon has a height listed, we don't even really need to worry about sizes. It's already done for us. So we can ignore that. What else do we need to do then? There are a few things that are a staple in Pokemon, like there's shops, obviously, where you buy all your Pokeballs and remedies and everything else like that. Oh, items. We're going to have to go through a lot of items. Not as many items as you think, but we will have to go through items. So, items and held items. We'll need to go through those. Now, the reason why I say that we have a lot to go through, but not as much as you think, is because if I pick, like, say, I'm going from memory here, a magnet and, let's see, what would it be? I'm really bad at this, actually. Silver powder, a magnet, or a boxing glove, I think it is. All 3 of these are items that can be held by your Pokemon. And the silver powder, I believe, makes bug attack stronger. The boxing glove is for fighting moves, and I don't even remember what the third or the second one I said was. The point is, though, that these items all boost a particular type of power or ability. But they all do the same thing. They're only differentiated by what flavor they happen to be. And so, while we do need to go through items, we don't need to go through each individual one. We can just say that all of these held items boost power by X amount. So, like, let's say that we have a Pokemon that deals 1d8 damage. Let's say that if you're holding this item, you do 1d6 additional damage of that type. Which makes sense. It's quick, it's easy, it's clean, and I like it. If I look at items in general, yeah, right here, item types. Let's take a look. So, the items pocket contains all types of items not put into the pocket. There are escape items, evolution items, valuable and exchangeable items, flutes. I played 2 Pokemon games. I don't recall ever finding a flute. Fossils, which I never bothered with. Digging for fossils sounds boring. Mulch, never saw that. Repels, and scents. And then held items are either incense, gems, choice items, which is probably what I was just talking about. No, it's not. Power items, scarves, mega stones, Z crystals, plates, drives, and memories. And then, of course, we have Pokeballs, battle items, things like that. So, yeah, we will have to go through items, but like I was saying, regardless of how many items there actually are in the game, and there are hundreds of them, this is not a huge list to go through. And if I was to look at one thing, like, let's say scarves, okay? We're going to go with scarves. If I look at scarves, there is a red scarf, blue scarf, pink scarf, green scarf, yellow scarf. What does it do? I have no idea what they do. Acquisition, artworks, trivia. Wow, it really does not do a whole lot. Wait, do they not have a function? Are they just a scarf? Oh, no, wait. This is about condition boosting held items. They boost the condition of a Pokemon. In games, they are unobtainable in Gen 5, but from Gen 7 onward, except for in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Okay, well that might explain why I've never seen one, because then the only place I would have ever seen one would have been Scarlet Violet. And I still don't remember seeing them. So, it says that they boost the condition of Pokemon? Oh, contest condition. Okay, so it's for something else. Alright, let's pick something different then. Yeah, Blizzard Star says for beauty contests. Okay, bad example then. Gems? We'll look at gems. These are held items. There are 18 types of gems corresponding to each of the 18 types. One time only a held gem boosts the power of the holder's damaging move with corresponding type. So, take a look at these. We've got a fire gem, water gem, electric gem, grass, ice, fighting. You know all the types by now. Or if you don't know all the types, boy will you by the time we're done. Because we're going to go over it several times. And the reason for that is because, obviously, since this is a Pokemon game, typing is going to be just hugely important. Hugely important. And hopefully there's going to be a type chart in here. Yeah, here we go. This is the Holy Grail. This is the Bible for Pokemon. In all of its horror. And I can't even fit the whole thing on the screen very well. This is the type chart. And from here, you can see basically how each one of your matchups should go, assuming everything else is equal. On this side, you have the attacking Pokemon. On the top, you have the defending Pokemon and the type matchup. So, for example, if you have a fire type and you are attacking a grass type, you can just follow the fire over here to grass. And oh look, fire does double damage to grass. So, if your Pokemon does, say, I don't know, 1d8 damage, and you're using a fire type versus a grass type, you'll roll your damage, and your damage will come out to be 1d8 times 2. So if you roll really well, that's big damage. If you roll poorly, well, sucks to suck. PC Unicorn says, what is the minimum words per minute we need to be then if typing is so important? Well, it depends on the job that you want to do. Generally speaking, though, for any kind of clerical or secretarial work, your words per minute are going to need to be somewhere between 80 to 100. So, if you need help with that, might I suggest Mavis Beacon teaches typing. You know, if you can find it. Does that even still exist anymore? I remember playing that on the doing that on the computer when I was in like 3rd grade. I mean, just when computers were starting to be a thing in schools, and like everybody was starting to get like a Macintosh 2, I think it was. I mean, all it was a basic word I remember them because like the mouse button had one button. I would go home, and our computer at home would have like the 2 mouse buttons because it was an IBM computer. Go to school, and it's like, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this mouse? Where's the other button? I don't understand. How does this work? And I mean, now my mouse has like 10 buttons on it. And to be fair, I don't even use most of them. But still, I was really bothered by the fact that the mice at school only had 1 button on them. Anyway, though, we're going to be referencing this a lot. I can almost assure you. But there's nothing here that we have to change either. This is work that is already done for us. Whatever damage that our Pokemon are doing when they happen to be fighting, there you go. The only question I think we need to ask then is, like, if we're going to be having Pokemon in an environment where they can do pretty much anything, to anything, or anyone, Are people normal types? Like, if you're walking down the road and some group of bandits decide they're going to jump out from the sides of the road and say, your money or your life. And you throw out a Pokemon, are people considered normal type? And as such, if you throw out a fighting type Pokemon, do they do double damage? Because that's kind of interesting to think about. It's like, okay, you have two people in the party. Both of them have their own Pokemon. You have one person that throws out a what would it be? A Ghastly? Is Ghastly a ghost type? Okay, so you get ambushed by these bandits on the road, and you say, Ghastly, I choose you. You throw out your Ghastly. The Ghastly looks at the bandits on the road, and then looks back at you. And then it just says its name over and over again because Pokemon can't talk. But if you could translate it, it would say, the hell do you want me to do about this? On the other hand, if you get ambushed by bandits on the road, you throw out something like, what would it be? The Hitmonlee, I think it is. Actually, there's a Hitmonlee, there's a Hitmonchan too, because they're one of the very few sexually dimorphic Pokemon in the game. But you throw out one of the hit Pokemon, and it's kind of like, yes, time to go to work. Let's see. And Blizzard says Pokemon don't usually attack trainers, and that is true. That is true. Normally, they wouldn't. But that is not what we're doing here. Because what are we doing here? We are making Pal World. No, I'm serious. That's what we're doing. We're making Pal World here. It is what it is. So what we're going to have here is very similar to what we were doing with the Magic the Gathering module, where we're looking at how do these Pokemon operate in like the normal world. So like when we were working with Magic the Gathering, when you play the card game, Magic the Gathering assumes that you are on essentially an empty battlefield. It's you as a planeswalker versus them as a planeswalker, and you now have the complete and total freedom to throw spells and summon creatures and just do whatever you want with absolutely zero consequences or collateral damage. And Blizzard says, gotta go. Well, Blizz, it was good having you here. Good to see you. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Take care. But anyway, yeah, in Magic the Gathering, you had the ability to just go through and... or in the card game for Magic the Gathering, you can do whatever you want and there are zero consequences. Because the consequences aren't really that important. You are two planeswalkers literally above it all. But what we did is we took the entire planeswalker thing and brought it down to a more realistic, grounded level. See, now your actions do have consequences. You can summon a whole bunch of monsters and set them loose in town, and they can ravage the town. You could also be defending against another planeswalker who's doing the same thing. And so it paints them an entirely new and different light, and it gives them a whole new sense of gravitas. We're doing the same thing with Pokemon here. In general, your Pokemon, when you're playing the game, whether it's the card game or it's the video game, if it's the card game, it's generally considered to be like a stadium. Okay? You're in a stadium and you get to throw out your Pokemon because you have a bench of waiting Pokemon. You have your one Pokemon who's actually in the ring and doing the fighting. It's a very controlled environment. In the games, it's a less controlled environment. You're actually out there in the wild. But at the same time, once a Pokemon battle starts, the entire world no longer exists. It's just you and your Pokemon. Now, this is good. Don't get me wrong, this is a good thing because it means that nothing else can really interrupt you. But it does also take something away. Pokemon, if you start stripping out the things that don't really matter, is essentially just a battle simulator with extra things tacked on. I mean, can you run around and collect Pokemon? Sure you can. However, I could replicate the running around and looking for Pokemon by saying, pick an environment from the list and roll a random number. No, seriously, let's do this. Let's show off. I'm gonna back up. Kanto. I'm gonna pull up a map here. If I wanted to, and I don't want to because I like expanding things, not contracting them. However, if you can do one, you can do the other. Geography, notable locations. Here we go. Settlements. I don't really want the settlements necessarily, although it's good. Settlements, we've got Pallet Town, Viridian City, Pewter City, Cerulean City, etc., etc., etc. Although you don't catch anything inside of the cities. Routes. Here we go. Routes in Kanto began the numbering process going from 1 through 25 in generations 1, 2, and 1, 3, and 7. But adding 3 routes to connect Johto, that'd be 26, 27, 28, in generations 2 and 4. So, every single one of these routes has their own list of Pokemon that's on a random table. If you walk through the tall grass and you encounter a Pokemon, the game itself is just going to roll a random number and give you whatever Pokemon comes up. So I can really simplify this as just say, pick your route, 1 through 25, and when you pick the route, roll the number, and when you roll the number, pick from this list. And now have your battle. That is Pokemon boiled down. The only reason that we look at it the way we do is because we have dressed it up. Instead of just pick a route, you have to walk to the route, or you have to fly to the route, or whatever it is. You actually have to move your character token there. Does the act of moving your token there actually change anything? It does not. It does not change anything. And so we could strip that out. We're not going to, because we want the act of travel to be a thing. But we could. The same thing with, actually finding the different Pokemon. That's just going to be a random number. You're going to find a Pokemon. And then we'll go ahead and see what it is. So we can strip everything down like that, and because we can do it like that, everything else just kind of falls away. Nothing else matters. We don't need the set pieces, we don't need the scenery, we don't need anything else like that. I want to make it so that's impossible. I want to make it so that everything is actually relevant. I want to make it so that every action has consequences to it, good, bad, or otherwise. I mean, perhaps you are traveling down the road, and this is more of a fantasy setting, so you're traveling down the road, you're either walking, or maybe you've got a Ponyta, so you're riding your Ponyta down the road, and you come across an area where you see a giant scorch mark across the road. Not only do you see a giant scorch mark across the road, but you come across a tree that has been snapped in half and is now laying on its side in the forest. Okay, well, what happened here? I don't know. You don't know. But something happened here. Why? Because Pokemon battles can have permanent effects in a permanent world. Which is what we're building here. So we're going to be able to do a lot more with it that way. And now I kind of lost my train of thought. Where was I? What was I doing? Brain died. Brain hurty. Anyway, getting back to what we were doing. We talked about the held items. We don't really need that. That's going to go, or that'll be fine on its own. Other things that we're going to need to add. There are going to be some hallmarks in the game that we will need. Like, for example, every town is going to have a shop. Every town will have to have a Pokemon Center as well. But that's really nothing. I mean, what is a Pokemon Center as just a free place to heal your Pokemon? So you go into the Pokemon Center, you hand over your Pokemon, and there you go. Depending on the setting, the Pokemon computer may not be a thing, though. So you may actually have to end up carrying all of your Pokeballs with you. How much is a Pokeball going to weigh? I don't know. That's kind of a really good question. They're not going to be terribly heavy, I know that much. Especially since I've seen them change size. Because you can like fit them, they're marble sized on your belt. You pick it up, it turns into a softball, and there you go. JP says, we need some variation of Professor Oak. Well, not necessarily just Professor Oak, but all of the professors. We can absolutely have some kind of, you know, international Pokemon research community kind of thing going on. I mean, why not? We can do that. I don't know how much it's actually going to affect, because it's kind of a staple in every Pokemon game that you get to pick a starter, and your starter has to be either fire, grass, or water. We do not necessarily have to abide by that. Now, I have to be really, really careful about that, because starters are starters for a reason. And there's a reason why the game does not let you pick psychic types as like your starting type. Just because it's a little bit unbalancing. However, I don't necessarily think that it would be unbalancing enough that we would need to worry about it. I do think that we could potentially get away with allowing people to start with a level 1 of almost anything they want, so long as it's not some kind of legendary or pseudo-legendary. So nobody gets to start with, say, Mew. Nobody gets to start with Mewtwo. But if you wanted to start the game with, say, a Psychic type, I don't see a reason why you couldn't start the game with some kind of Abra. I don't see why you couldn't do that. It's not a bad idea. Not important right now, but it's not a bad idea. Getting back to this. One thing that I do think that I need to add into here is I'm going to need... Oh, actually the map system. Okay, so here's an interesting thing to consider. Map system, types by biome, sure, it's good. Also, scaling system, if using canon. I'm gonna say if using canon. Because here's the thing. If I come back here to where we were before, normally I would build my own maps. But this is, and you can only see part of it, but this is an image of Kanto. Kanto? Kanto, probably. This is Kanto. We have a map. And if we have a map, and this map is scaled, and we know it's scaled because it uses squares. And so all the squares have to align. We have a map. All we really need to do is determine scale for the map, and we have our travel system already. Now you can literally just use this as the map to play on, put tokens on it, and we're good to go. I don't necessarily know what that scale is, off the top of my head, but I don't think it would be too hard to figure out. All I would really need to do is find out exactly how big one of these routes is. Because, like, I don't know where exactly we start out. I'm going to go ahead and guess that this is where you start out. This looks kind of home city-ish. And then you're going to come up here to this first town here. So this is probably going to be Route 1. All I would have to do is just find out, you know, take a look at Route 1, find out how many squares it is from one to the other, and job done. From there, just simply extrapolate the scale into everything else. Especially if everything is done in squares, if we just assume that every square is 5 feet, then, I mean, our work is done for us. It's done for us like that. It's fantastic. I love it. Actually, it's not even really something we would have to do. It's something I would have to do when I was actually putting the map into the game. That way we could use the measuring tools in Roll20. So, yeah. That job is actually done for us. It's already scaled. Fantastic. Ignoring it. What else can we do? Held items. I could put a Pokemon League in. But that's not something I really need to do any kind of conversion for, because that's just going to be an organization. The Pokemon League will have trainers. It will just use the same stats that we have here, and everything else. I don't know what else we need to do. I think it's good. Okay, in that case, I think I'm going to get started on something. So, this page here, this is going to be the Pokemon conversion. And we're going to get to work on actually trying to convert Pokemon. Alright, so first things first, we are going to need to have some kind of sheet. And for this matter, actually, I do wonder, when we did the Magic the Gathering module, I had to make up mini sheets for all of the summons, because if you do if you summon a creature, it needs to have its own sheet. And so too will your Pokemon. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab one of these. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to come over here and I'll paste this here. Alright. So this is my Aven Fate Shaper from the Magic the Gathering module. Not exactly a special kind of creature, but hey, it's a decent creature. Now, we have pretty much everything that we need right here. Name, alignment, size, type, etc., etc., etc. Armor class, hit points, fortitude, weaknesses. Yeah, everything here is good. So what we can do is we can take this column and we can just delete this column. We're going to go ahead and we're going to try to build a creature here. Now, how are we going to do this? Especially if we go through and use the stats that we have in the game. I'm going to go back to Bulbasaur here and use this as our example. Probably going to use Bulbasaur a lot just because it is Pokemon number 1 and I like him. So, Pokemon have the following stats in the game. They have HP, attack, defense, special defense, and speed. And I think that we want to find a way to turn all of those into some kind of ability. The question is going to be how. And I think that I have an idea. So if we come down here to our actual statistics, we have Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. 6 ability scores. They have 6 of these stats. What I think we could do is this. What if we went through and we actually turned every single one of these into a particular ability? So, like, let's say that, for example, Constitution. And I'm just going to put up here Pokemon. Name, Pokemon. Alignment, not really applicable. Size. See, size. Type. This is going to be their elemental type. So, elemental type. Initiative, of course, is going to be the same as it usually is. It's going to be their Dex bonus. Senses. Most Pokemon, I believe, only really have the same basic 5 senses that we do. As far as I know, they don't have a whole lot of other senses, but that is something that we could work on. For example, perhaps dark Pokemon or dark type Pokemon get dark vision. Why does that matter? Doesn't help you. You don't have dark vision, but if you had to fight another Pokemon in the dark, a dark type Pokemon with dark vision no longer suffers from concealment. Everyone who's trying to hit it would have the dark type Pokemon would have concealment because it's in the dark, but the dark type Pokemon would not have that problem. No rolling a D100, no flipping a coin. Same thing with something like, say, a psychic Pokemon. Maybe psychic Pokemon have blind sight. I'm not sure. We'll have to work on that. Perception is going to be your wisdom bonus. Armor class is going to be your dex bonus. Which is not going to be too high, although there may be things that we can do better. Their touch AC is just going to be normal. No, wait. It's going to be dex bonus. Flat-footed is just AC. Hit points. For hit points, we'll have to get into actually what kind of hit die are they going to use. We'll have to wait and see. Fortitude saves. I don't know what the Fortitude saves are going to be. Probably going to be... I don't know. That's a hard one. So, saves come in either, like, slow, medium, or fast. Or rather, not really, it's more like poor, medium, and good. And I feel like that Pokemon should have good defenses in general. So, maybe we just go ahead and say... level? No, not level. Geez, that could get out of hand really fast. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll come back to it later. And weaknesses are going to be per type. Now, everything else. Speed, melee attack, all that stuff. Here's what we're going to do. When it comes to these things down here, strength is going to be their attack stat. Dexterity will be their speed stat. Constitution, their HP stat. Intelligence will be their special attack. Why? Because you have to use, or you have to be smart about it. And think about it. Most of your Pokemon that are really going to be strength focused are going to be your primary just attackers. They're going to be your fighting types, things like that. And your special attackers are going to be things like your psychic types. They're going to be using mind over matter anyway. Wisdom is going to be your special defense, and charisma. What are we missing here? Oh, I don't have regular defense. I don't have regular defense up here. Maybe we make the wisdom the special defense. Or maybe we make charisma special defense. So we can do this one to say defense, and then charisma can be special defense. Wisdom is knowing how to stop something, and charisma is basically convincing them not to do it in the first place, I guess. So there we go. We can use those stats. Now, how are we going to convert those stats? Because when we look at these, I'm just going to pick one of these and just say special attack. Special attack or special move. It relies on these special attack stat. Okay, let's look at stats. Here's where we want to go. Special attack, short for partly determines how much damage Pokemon deals using its move, depending on this stuff. C, damage and damage calculation. Yeah, we don't want to take a look at that because the damage calculation is going to be awful. Okay. But these are just the basic stats. Permanent stats. And these are done... I think they go all the way up to 255. I think. So we got HP, attack, defense, special, and speed. Yeah, special covers the special attack and special defense. I wish I could find the spiderweb graph. I'm gonna take a look at this, though. HP... No, I don't want this. I don't want that. Okay. And then, of course, down here it says the in-battle stats. There's evasion and accuracy. Evasion and accuracy don't really matter to us because it's all going to be dice rolls. It's all going to be dice rolls. You'll either hit or you'll miss. And if you're more combat focused, then that's better. And if you're not, then, you know, whatever. But here's the thing. Ability scores generally range between 10 and 18. As far as I know, the numbers in Pokemon go all the way up to 255, and we have to find a way to kind of bridge that gap there. And part of the reason why they go so high up to 218 is because of something called EV training. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't fully understand EV training. But if we come down here, we look at this, the EV yield. It says, this list is only accurate for Gen 9 games. When a Pokemon is defeated in battle, it will give effort values to the Pokemon that participated in the battle against it. The values shown below are after effort points the Pokemon will give in Gen 8. I don't know. Point is, though, basically with Bulbasaur here, every time it goes into a battle, if it wins, it gets 1 point of special attack. That's just how it works. And so if it starts off with zeros in pretty much everything, it's going to get a point in special attack every time it wins a battle. And then as it levels up, everything will go up as well. So we're going to need a system that's going to kind of sort of work with that too. I'm just going to point this out, I could make a system where the we use a 1 through 255 we use a 1 through 255 system. How we do that, I'm not terribly certain. Because if I punish too much for having low stats, then they'll never be able to level up. And if I reward too greatly, then they become overpowered. But, like, for example, what if, and I'm just spitballing here, so give me some slack. We know that we have a rate or a number of 1 to 255. If I were to, how do I want to do this? Because we don't want to be too esoteric here. We don't want to make it too confusing. We want to keep as close to the Pathfinder, Starfinder rules as we possibly can. The problem with that is, how are we going to make it work? Like, my first thought was, what if we were to divide them by 10? And just say that, you know, your strength and dex and constitution, all that is whatever the number is divided by 10. Well, that means that it was anything less than 10, if you had anything less than 10 there, then divided by 10, your number will be 0, and if you had zeros across everything, you're dead. So that can't be it. They had to have some kind of base stat to go from. What if we gave them all 10s? Well, 10s is great. 10s is the average, and you would expect that from these animals, from these Pokemon. They should be average. But then what do we do with the rest of the numbers? If we were to do that, then if we just follow the numbers exactly, okay, we follow the numbers exactly, then that means that you could get anywhere from a plus nothing at, like, just, you know, 1 point in there, to, if you had 255 points, that would be a plus 25. So you could have 35s in your stats. Perhaps that's not completely unreasonable, but it's kind of unreasonable. Unless, what if... let's think about something here. What if we built the perfect Pokemon? Okay? What if we assume that every Pokemon, once it reaches level 100, is perfect? Because, I mean, how many Pokemon would naturally reach level 100? Probably none of them. But let's build the perfect Pokemon here. That's 255 in every stat. Times 6 stats. That is 1,530. Alright, so your perfect Pokemon would have 1,530 points across all of its abilities. Now, let's go ahead and divide that by 100. Well, that's really easy. That's going to be 153. So, what if we gave the ability to give 153 points for every level? It seems a bit weird. It's a little bit weird of a number. But if we take that 153, divide that by 6, because you have 6 scores, it comes out to a bad number. 25.5. What if What if we actually did go with the idea that I had before of you need to have a certain amount of you have a certain number of points in everything in order to make this stuff work. Okay, I'm thinking here. Let me think. And I really wish that I had the Pathfinder wiki available, because I could really use their ability scores chart right about now. But apparently I'm not going to get that. Does Starfinder have it here? Ability scores. Examples. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So if we look at our ability scores here and modifiers, at 1 it is a -5. That means that if we were to give your Pokemon at level 1 just 1s in their ability scores across the board, that would be a -5 to pretty much everything. They would be absolutely terrible. However, at the first level, you would get at the first level, you get 153 points to spend. That is enough to put 25 points into each one of your stats. So with 25 points into each one of the stats, if we were to divide that by 10, that would essentially be increasing every single one of your stats by 2 points, meaning that you would take them from being an ability score of 1 to an ability score of 3. Which is pretty significant. That's a significant jump. And the next time they level up, you could do it again, taking them from a 3 to a 5. And the next time they jump, or they do it again. Does this actually work out? Now I'm starting to feel, or wonder if I did my math right here. Starting to wonder if I did my math right. So if the Pokemon starts off with ability scores of 1, so okay, we're just going to do one each. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, and that's at 0 points. All right, so let's say that you level up. And when you level up, you get 153 points to spend. And... is that right, though? No, it's not. It's not right. I know what I did wrong here. That's why it doesn't make sense. So... it's not going to be that. So it's 255 times 6 scores. That gives us our 1530. However, that has to be at level 100. And so when we divide it by 100... No, my math is right. I did that right. Why is this not calculating out the way that I expected it to? Because I divided the 1535 by that. So if I divide that by 100, that gives me the... oh, that's why! Because I did do my math wrong. I did my math wrong. It's not 1530, or 153 per level. It's 15.3 per level. Okay, so That is much better. That makes much more sense. So you don't get 153 points per level, you get 15, which means that you'd be allowed to raise, say, one of them by one level every time they level up. So I'm just going to say 15.3. We're going to round that down to 15. And if we round that down to 15, then that means that times 100, you're only actually going to get... you'll only actually get 1,500. Which means that you wouldn't be able to be perfect. You would end up with two... No, you'd end up with 3 that were only 254. But honestly, at that point, it doesn't matter. Since we're dividing everything by 10 to get our ability scores, it's fine. So, yeah. Let's say that you level up once, you get 15 points spent, and you get to pick, or you get to put it in one of these. So you start off with 1s by default, and then you get 15 points because you leveled up. Okay, what are we going to level up then? I don't know. Maybe we want some more hit points, so we'll put it down here. Now, that 15 divided by 10 is going to be 1.5. We're going to re-round it down. So it's going to be 1 plus 1. It'll give you a 2 in Constitution. It seems complicated because I'm still working it out, but I think it's going to be really simple. Because I can make a second column here to just say, you know, divided by 10. This is going to be the total. And then the plus ability. So all these are going to be zeros. And this is going to be 1. Now, let's go back to what I said when we first started this, and I talked about the whole XP progression thing. And I said that if we were to go by the model that my players are using right now in the Star Trek game, that if you were to get a chunk of XP, like I was giving out in my game, my players got 111 XP. So let's play that out. 111 XP is going to bring you straight from level 1 all the way up to level 5. Because the threshold for level 5 is 100. That means that instead of getting 15 XP, instead you'd be getting 45. No, 45? That'd be times 3. 75. So we needed to make this 75. We could spread this evenly and help our Pokemon get better. And so we could just say we put 15, we already have 15 there. And we'll go ahead and put 15, 15, 15, 15. Okay? Which will come out to 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. Which would then make these 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. That's still pretty bad, though. So maybe this doesn't work out the way I wanted it to. How can we make it better? I could simply change the floor. If I were to change the floor and make it a little bit less punishing, like, if instead I started their scores not at level, or not at 1, but at 5. Well, if I did that, and they can pick up a maximum of 25 points, that means that they would cap out at 30. 30 is significant. In fact, the chart doesn't even go up as high as 30. It does mean they would start off with a -3 in all of their stats instead of a -5. It also means that the first time that they put points into it, they would move up to a 6, which is only a -2. I'm not sure how I want to do this. As a matter of fact, I may have to bump it up because there is one thing that I didn't consider. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. One of the things that I had failed to consider is traits. And let's see. I think it's gonna be in here, right? Special traits are a game mechanic in the Pokemon Rumble series. Is this not what I'm looking for? Brawny, Bug Guard, Dark Guard. That's in Pokemon Rumble. However, Pokemon Rumble World, multi-traits. No, I don't care about those. I know one of them. Sturdy. Okay, it's not called a trait, it's called an ability. Okay, abilities were introduced in Gen 3. I need to keep track of things like abilities, because abilities are going to affect things, and also almost every Pokemon has something that it's good at and something that it's bad at. And so I want to go back and look at the stats. I'm going to duplicate this tab, so I can go back and look at that. Stats. Okay. So terminology, stats, ratings, effect, parameters. Permanent stats, of course, we already went through those. Let's see, base stat values. Okay, here we go. Base stat values. A Pokemon's base stat values will most often have the greatest influence in their stats. Disregarding individual stats values, a level 100 Pokemon stats in attack, defense, speed, special attack, and defense will be exactly 5 more than double its base stat values in each. While the HP stat will always be 110 plus double the base stat value. Except in the case of Shedinja, whose HP is always 1. For a list of Pokemon by their base stat values, list of Pokemon by base stat values. Okay, let's take a look at this. This might be useful. Oh! Oh my goodness! Oh! Oh, that is pretty! They have base stat values. I am so glad we found this list. This is great. So, remember how we were looking at the abilities and said that we needed to get a certain number of points for all those? Well, this is already done for us. This is already done. Look at this. I'm gonna get rid of this. Forget this. Bye-bye. Look at this go. Oh, that's gone. All right, I'm gonna copy this. I'm going to copy this. I'm gonna build us a Bulbasaur. Okay. Let's set these columns to the proper width, and we're going to build us a Bulbasaur. Okay, name, Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur. Okay, alignment. Cute. Size. Okay. I'm going to come back here to Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur's size is 2'4". Guess what? You is small. Type, grass. Initiative, we'll get back to that. Senses, probably none. Perception, again, we'll get back to it. Armor class is going to be 10, 10, 10, because we don't have anything for that yet. Hit points, we'll have to get back to that when we're doing, when we're looking more into these things. Fortitude, Reflex, Will, we'll get to those. Weaknesses. Aha! Now, here's something interesting. Weaknesses. Bulbasaur has a few. Because Bulbasaur is both grass and poison type. So, grass. Super effective to ground, rock, water. Not very effective, no effect. Defensive properties. Weak to flying, poison, bug, fire, ice. That's a lot of them. Flying, bug, poison, fire, ice. Also, Bulbasaur is a poison type, and that is weak to ground and psychic. So, ground and psychic. It's a lot of weaknesses. There's a reason why nobody uses Bulbasaur, even though I love him. He's so good. Speed. Since he is small, probably 20 feet. That's usually how that works. As far as damage and everything else goes, not going to get into that. But if we look at everything else, if we took all of these numbers and divided them by 10, then we could say that Bulbasaur, because we have to round down, Bulbasaur is going to have a 4 in HP. So it'll be Constitution. Attack, well, actually it's going to be, attack and defense are both going to be 4s. So that's a 4. And that's a 4. Special attack and special defense are both going to be 6s. So 6 and 6. And speed is going to be a 4. Now, is that great? No, it is not. It's really not. But it's okay, because it's still better than 1. So what about our abilities up here, then? Well, if we know that their abilities, their powers can go all the way up to 255, well, let's see. I'm looking at the averages here, or not the averages, but the totals here. The problem is that they have all of the Pokemon mixed in here and not just the stage 1s. So, for example, Bulbasaur has a total of 318, but then I have to skip 3 here because these are all evolutions. The next one that we want to check against would be Charmander, who has 309. Lower HP, higher attack. Lower special defense, but higher speed. Squirtle also 314 points. The spread, however, very similar to Bulbasaur. Same HP, same attack. Orange is defense? Yeah, higher defense. He's a turtle, makes sense. Lower special attack, same. I like this. I think this is going to work out really well. But now what do we do with the rest of the numbers? If we're taking off, and I'm going to take a look at some of the rest of these, like Caterpie only has about 200. And even when it evolves all the way up, it caps out like 395. Weedle, also about 200, 395 once it's fully evolved. How do we want to do this? I wonder, what if we were to make this, what if we made this easier? What if we just said that every time they level up, they get to add 1 point into one of these? Okay, what if we made that real simple? And we can stop worrying about converting numbers and everything. What if we just said that when you're making the character, you're going to look at the base statistics and you're going to divide it by 10, rounding down, which is going to give Bulbasaur here the following stats: 444646. After that, we don't even really need to worry about the rest of the numbers. Not too much anyway. If we pick up an item that boosts something specifically, then we have to reference that again, but until then, we can use these numbers as is. Now, 100 levels. If I divide that by 6, it's not going to divide nicely. It divides into roughly 16, which I should have known on top of my head because I use dice all the time and this is dice probabilities. What if we were to add 16 to every single one of these stats? Okay? 4 plus 16 is going to be 20. 4 plus 16 is 20. 4 plus 16 is 20. 6 plus 16 is going to be 22. 20 and 22. This is our projected level 100 numbers if we just spread everything evenly. And looking at those numbers, those are some damn nice numbers. Those are nice numbers. Those are the kind of numbers that you wish you could roll. However, these are not terribly broken. These are actually really good. Because now, if we have to go through and fill out everything else. As for base attack bonus, how about this one? For base attack bonus, it's going to be level divided by 5. Okay, level divided by 5. They're only going to get 1 attack per turn because that's how Pokemon do. So if we're building our level 100, Bulbasaur here, technically it wouldn't be a Bulbasaur anymore, but hey, we're keeping it as a Bulbasaur. You can do that. You can actually level them up all the way and never let them evolve. Base attack bonus, if it's the level divided by 5, it's going to be 20, so plus 20, and that is going to equal a fighter. A fighter at level 20 has a plus 20 base attack bonus. Combat maneuver bonus is base attack bonus plus strength, so it's going to be 20 plus 5. That's going to be plus 25. And combat maneuver defense is base attack bonus plus strength bonus plus dexterity bonus, which is going to be 30. Now, any feats or skills or anything like that, I don't know how we're going to do that. In terms of skills, we may simply go back to the same rules that we use for Magic the Gathering, where they'll get to have a number of skills equal to their intelligence modifier. So, number equal to... So a number equal to their intelligence modifier. And once we do that, we can actually calculate their what their skill rank is, because they're going to have that. The ranks, it says right here, ranks are equal to their level. And so if Bulbasaur wants to learn Climb, which I don't see a reason why Bulbasaur couldn't learn Climb, then our level 20 Bulbasaur here is going to say Climb. And that's going to be a number of ranks equal to the level, so 20 plus strength modifier, Climb plus 25. Super simple. Love it. As far as languages go, it's just going to be Pokemon, because Pokemon can seem to communicate with each other. Don't know how, but they do. Now, as for the rest of them, or the rest of these, we're going to have to work on actually figuring these out, because, like, all the saves... Here's the thing. For the saves, I think we might also do something similar to their level divided by 5. If we do that, then they still end up at 20 by the time they hit level 100, and that's before their bonuses. So if we do that... Let's come up here and do that. Then our level 100 Bulbasaur up here, which I probably should have just made a column. Insert row level Lerval level. There we go. All right, so this is level 100. We can come down here to our saves, and Fortitude is going to be 20 plus Constitution, plus 25. Reflexes will be 20 plus Dexterity, so plus 25. And Will is going to be Wisdom, 20 plus that, which is also going to be a plus 25, which is, you know, pretty good. That's good stuff. As for hit points are going to be a little bit more complicated, because as Pokemon evolve, they're going to get better. And so why don't we look at that? We're almost done here, but Pokemon evolve into what are called stages. So technically, there is a stage 0, which is just an egg. And then there is stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And this is for normal Pokemon, like, say, Bulbasaur here. Bulbasaur has 3 stages. Technically, there's an egg, but once the egg hatches, you've got stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And this is common for most of them. If we come down here and keep looking, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, 1, 2, 3. Pidgeys, 1, 2, 3. Rattatas, 1, 2, 3. But then we get into a couple that are different. Spearows and Fearows. They only have 2 stages. So, what we need here is to have some kind of numbers that are going to be divisible in both 2 ways and 3 ways, excuse me. And the only number that I can think of that is really going to help us out here is going to be either 6 or 12. Because both of those are very divisible. So, when it comes to, say, HP and attacks, here's what I'm thinking. I am thinking that we could go with 1d4, 1d6, no, 1d4, 1d8, and 1d12. And that would be for 3-stage Pokemon. And if we only had 2-stage Pokemon, $1d6 and $1d12. Now, the question is, does this actually even out? And I think that it will. So let's take a look and just kind of plan this a little bit. So I'm going to use maximum values here. I'm going to take a look at Bulbasaur. So Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur at level 16. So I'm going to go ahead and compare the Bulbasaur line and the Fearow line. So Bulbasaur and Fearow. Or was it Spearow? I'm not even sure now. But let's just say maximum values here. So Bulbasaur is going to get 6 levels, or 16 levels of 1d4s. I don't even need the calculator for this because that means it's going to get 64 hit points. And if I come down here to the bird, oh, excuse me, Spearow. There we go. Spearow evolves into Fearow at level 20. So that'll be 20 levels of a d6. So that's just 20 times 6. It's 120. Super simple. Now, as for the Bulbasaur, it is going to evolve into Venusaur at level 32, so that's another 16 levels. It'll be 16 levels of D8s. So 16 times 8 is 128. And then the rest of the levels will be in stage 3 because it will be a Venusaur. So that is 100 minus 32 times 12. That would be 816 HP, which is, now I'm thinking about it, kind of a lot actually. But how does that compare to our Spearow? Well, our Spearow evolved at level 20. It got 20 levels of D6s. And so it's going to need 80 levels of D12s. That comes out to 960. And so let's go ahead and total these up then. So for a Bulbasaur, that is 64 plus 128 plus 816, which comes out to 1008. As for our Spearow line, 120 plus 960 comes out to 1080. Less than 100 points off. I think this works. I think this is a really cool idea. So, I think this is how we're going to go. The eggs, I don't think are going to need to have any kind of HP value because they're not doing anything. As for the rest, as soon as you hit stage 1, you get 1 D4, probably your full D4 plus, whatever. That may be a little bit hard given that some of the Pokemon are going to have penalties. Like if we look at this, 4 is a -3. So your Bulbasaur may come with only 1 hit point. But as its constitution improves, it's going to get more and more hit points retroactively. And so it'll get there. It'll get there rather quickly. I think we just go with the traditional, you get a full hit dice as soon as you come out. And that'll work. And this same thing, I believe, can also work for attacks. So when we're looking at like the melee attack, well, for a stage 1 Pokemon, it would be like a 1d4. So, yeah, it'd just be like 1d4. And for Bulbasaur, even at level 100, plus 5. However, keep in mind that this is a Bulbasaur at level 100. If we were to kick it up to, a Venusaur, it would become a 1d12 plus 5. So it could be good. Anyway, though, I am out of time. We got a lot done, though. I think it's going to be really fun. There's still work we have to do on converting them from the video game into a tabletop game. But I think we're off to a really good start here. I think we're off to a really good start. We'll still need to figure out exactly how we differentiate between melee attacks and ranged attacks. I don't know if that's going to be as simple as physical attacks versus special attacks. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. There's a lot There's a lot going on here, and a lot that we need to learn as well. Some of this may come down to simple GM fiat, though, to determine how particular moves work. It may be one of those things that we work out over time while playtesting. Not sure. Anyway, though, I'm going to leave it off here. We have a lot to do. We're going to be at this for a while. It's going to be fun, though. We're all going to enjoy it. So, if you want to see more of this, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon. That way you get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who is also into either Starfinder, Pathfinder, or Pokemon, then go ahead and share this video with them. Especially if they got insights. I could use the insights. Help me out here. So share the video out. If you want to leave a like on the video, you can do that. Leave a like for me. I like it. They make me feel good. They keep me warm at night. Actually, not really a problem. It's really warm right now anyway. But I can save them for the coming winter. That's how you plan ahead. Otherwise, though, if you want to leave a comment down below, you can do that too. But if you're going to go ahead and leave a comment, might I suggest join our Discord. We have a Discord. We're very friendly over there. Join us if you want to. If you want to play, you're going to have to, because that's how we do. If you want to play with us, you have to join the Discord. You have to go to the Behind the Screen channel. Let me know what games you want to play, what your availability is, and as soon as I have enough people for a group, we go. So, hope to see you there. If I don't see you there, I hope to see you back here next week for more Pokemon. And until then, take care.